I never thought a college acceptance letter could destroy someone's life. But when my daughter opened that envelope, I watched everything we'd worked for crumble in front of my eyes. What the admissions officer said next, I'll never forget it. My name is Tamara Jenkins, and I'm a single mother living in Richmond, Virginia. For 17 years I'd done everything right. 2 jobs, one as a nurse during the day, another cleaning offices at night. My daughter Aaliyah was my whole world. Straight A student. Debate team captain. I volunteered at homeless shelters every weekend. She dreamed of becoming a civil rights attorney just like Thurgood Marshall. We didn't have much. Our apartment was small, the walls thin enough to hear our neighbors arguing through the night. But Aaliyah never complained. She studied under a desk lamp I'd bought at a yard sale, her textbooks stacked like towers around her. When she got that scholarship interview at Riverside University, one of the most prestigious schools in the state, I cried. Not because I was surprised, because I was proud. The day of her final interview I took off work. I pressed her navy blue dress the night before, made sure every crease was perfect. We arrived 30 minutes early. The campus was beautiful. Old brick buildings covered in ivy, students laughing on perfectly manicured lawns. Aaliyah squeezed my hand. I got this, Mama. The waiting room was cold. Marble floors. Leather chairs. A white receptionist barely looked at us when we checked in. Take a seat, she said, eyes glued to her computer screen. We waited. And waited. Families came in after us, white families mostly, and were called in before Aaliyah. One woman wore a tennis outfit. Her son had earbuds in, barely paying attention. He went in. Came out 20 minutes later smiling. Aaliyah's name still hadn't been called. An hour passed. I approached the desk. Excuse me, we've been waiting. She'll be called when it's her turn, the receptionist interrupted, not even looking up. Finally, after nearly 2 hours, they called her name. Aaliyah stood, straightened her dress, and walked in with her head high. I prayed silently, watching the door close behind her. 15 minutes later, she came out. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. Mama! Her voice cracked. They said I don't meet their cultural standards. My heart stopped. What does that even mean? She handed me a letter. I read it twice, my hands trembling. While Ms. Jenkins demonstrates academic excellence, we feel her background may not align with the collaborative and traditional values of our institution. I read the words again, slower this time, hoping I'd misunderstood. But there it was, printed on official letterhead, signed by someone with power. My hands started shaking so badly that Aaliyah had to take the letter from me. Mama, breathe, she whispered, but I saw the devastation in her eyes. The same eyes that used to light up when she talked about law school, about changing the world, about making me proud. Around us, other families celebrated. A father hugged his son. A mother took photos. Their joy felt like knives. We'd been rejected before we even had a chance. Not for lack of merit, but for something we could never change. Traditional values. Background. Code words. I'd heard them my whole life. I marched straight to the admissions office. The director, a middle-aged white man in a pressed suit, sat behind a mahogany desk. His nameplate read Dr. Richard Caldwell. Can I help you? He asked, barely glancing up from his paperwork. You can explain this. I slid the letter across his desk. He read it quickly, then folded his hands. Mrs. Jenkins, we have very high standards here. Your daughter is academically capable, but what? My voice was louder than I intended. She has a 4.0 GPA. Perfect SAT scores. Volunteer work. Leadership roles. What exactly doesn't align with your traditional values? He leaned back in his chair, his expression calm, rehearsed. We look at the whole student. Character. Fit. We have to consider how students will integrate into our community. Integrate. I felt my chest tighten. You mean you don't think a black girl from the South Side belongs here? Mrs. Jenkins, I think you're misunderstanding. No. I cut him off. I understand perfectly. You looked at her name, her address, her skin, and you decided she wasn't your kind of student. His jaw tightened. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Not until you answer me. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. My daughter worked harder than anyone. She earned this. And you're taking it away because of who she is. He stood. Security will escort you out if necessary. I felt my legs weaken, but I refused to sit down. Aaliyah grabbed my arm, steadying me. Mama, let's just go, she whispered, her voice broken. But I couldn't move. 17 years of sacrifices flashed before my eyes. The double shifts, the missed birthdays, the nights I went to bed hungry so she could eat. Every scraped knee I bandaged. Every report card I celebrated. Every dream I promised her she could reach. No, I said, my voice trembling but firm. We're not leaving. Not like this. Not until someone with integrity walks through that door and sees what's really happening here. Dr. Caldwell reached for his phone. That's when the door opened. That's when the door opened. A black woman in a sharp gray suit walked in. She was older, maybe in her 60s, with silver hair and eyes that could cut through steel. Dr. Caldwell, she said, her voice steady and commanding. I heard raised voices. Is there a problem? He straightened immediately. Dean Morrison. This is just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? She looked at me, then at Aaliyah, who stood quietly behind me, tears streaming down her face. What happened here? I handed her the letter. Dean Morrison read it slowly. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. She looked at Dr. Caldwell. Did you write this? Well, the committee decided. The committee you chair. Her voice was nice. The same committee that has admitted 3 students this week with lower GPAs, fewer extracurriculars, and family donations tied to their applications. Silence. She turned to me. Mrs. Jenkins, I apologize. This letter is unacceptable. It violates everything this university claims to stand for. She looked back at Caldwell. You're removed from the admissions committee, effective immediately. I'll be reviewing every decision you've made this year. His face went red. Dean Morrison, you can't. I can. And I will. She handed me a business card. Mrs. Jenkins, Aaliyah, please come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll make sure this is corrected. 2 weeks later, Aaliyah received a new letter. Full scholarship. Housing included. A handwritten apology from the university president. The day we moved her into her dorm, I cried again. But this time it was different. She hugged me tight in that small dorm room, sunlight streaming through the window. We did it, Mama. No, baby, I whispered. You did it. Dean Morrison visited us that afternoon. She told us her story, how she'd fought the same battles 30 years ago, how she'd been told she didn't belong. But I stayed, she said. And now I make sure girls like Aaliyah get their chance. As I drove home that evening, I thought about all the times I'd been told no. All the doors that had been slammed in my face. But I also thought about Aaliyah, her strength, her resilience, her refusal to shrink. She didn't just earn that scholarship. She earned her place in a world that tried to tell her she didn't belong. And that's a lesson worth fighting for.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a comment. We read every single one. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the Black Diaries. Your support brings us closer to our goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers.